Everybody, my name is Cool Blue and I'm bringing out this video of me talking about a board game, or playing a board game, sorry. Let's get my openings mixed up here. And today we're going to be doing a teach and playthrough of City Planner. This is the second game in the Nano 9 game series. As you can see here, we did a previous video on Railways already, and we will do one on Empire. But for now, we're going to go ahead and do City Planner, the second in the set of 3. So let us go ahead and get the background music started here. Okay, cool. Got something a little different so I don't just drive myself crazy listening to the same songs. But okay, yes. So this game is called City Planner. This one's pretty straightforward as far as the rules go. Essentially, you're going to set your board up. This is going to play 1 to 2. And the whole point of this game is to simply score the most points you can after rolling some dice, making some choices, doing a little bit of dice manipulation, and then going from there. So it is a very straightforward game. Not a ton of things to actually fully explain, except for how scoring works. So what we have before us is we have our grid. This is our grid of seven different city blocks. They're labeled, they're numbered 1 through 7. We have a cube here that represents something that's going to be locked or passed along, and then we have our 9 dice. We have the other 4 dice over here, other 4 cubes, so we can make the Nano 9 moniker. But as far as the dice go, we need 2 dice to represent the round count. We will play 8 rounds total. Let me double check. Yes, we'll play 8 rounds total in this game. So we're gonna set that up for 8 rounds. Let me put this dice over here. I don't have to, but I'm just gonna. And then finally, we have these 7 dice that are remaining. These are going to be the dice that we're going to be rolling and placing the cards. Now, as far as the dice are concerned, the dice correspond to different locations on each card. Every card is going to have its own d6, so there's 6 locations on each spot. And these locations are going to be needed for scoring our points. Because essentially I just want to score the most points possible, and there is a ranking in this game. So we're going to try to score the most points possible for the solo game. I'll just bring it up over here on the sheet to bring it to everybody's... let me try again. There we go. To bring it to everybody's attention. So we have here a little sheet that shows I'm going to try to score the most points I possibly can. And there's a little ranking here, different from the previous game. But yeah, it's just some information for you to know there. All right. So as far as everything goes, on a round of this game, because I'll play 8 rounds total, on a round of this game, I'll be going through 4 different steps. The steps will be to roll the dice, and then I'll be passing a card to myself, because I'm playing solo, it's to myself. And then afterwards, I'll be scoring all the cards that I decide to pick and keep. And then finally, the turn will end. I'll do a cleanup. And there's a penalty thing to look out for, or requirement each round that I need to look for. If I don't meet the requirements, I'll get a penalty, and I'll talk about that here shortly. So let me go ahead and get myself kind of oriented properly here. There we go. Got my rule sheet up down here, and let's go through it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roll a d6 for each one of these locations, and this is just to initialize. Actually, I'm just gonna roll them all. Doesn't matter because this is the teaching part. I'm not actually playing the game yet. So I'm gonna roll a d6 for all these locations and put the dice here, and then we'll visit each location to talk about different things. So these d6 correspond to locations on the cards, as I mentioned before. So this 4, for instance, corresponds to that spot. This 5 corresponds to that spot, and so on and so forth. So simply just assigning a dice to each location, and these are the round counting dice. And down here on my board, my player board, we have my money and my victory point count. And this is a little cube that we use for locking. So that's kind of a brief overview. Now going to each location will score points or money based on different interactions. So starting off with the most simple way to score points in this game is I will score points by getting green buildings or the suburbs. Suburbs are worth 1 victory point apiece. There is a modifier that's available that I'll talk about later, but essentially the green buildings, which are the suburbs, they will give me 1 victory point apiece. The next type of building I'm talking about will be the commercial buildings. Commercial buildings are the blue buildings. These commercial buildings, like this one is over here, these commercial buildings will give me $1 that I can use for various things. If you look at my player board down here, I start with this black cube represents my money, and this white cube represents my victory points. I start with $5 at the start of the game. And at the end of the game, every $5 is worth 1 victory point. So there is a little bit of a conversion there. I would rather have victory points over dollars, but my money does not entirely go to waste. So the blue buildings will earn me money based on a very specific interaction with the yellow buildings, which I'll talk about next. But the blue buildings, essentially every blue building I have will give me $1, assuming that I qualify for earning the dollars. And speaking of assuming I qualify, we'll go to the next building, which is the yellow building, the industry buildings. The industry buildings essentially allow me to score the blue buildings for money, and I need at least one yellow building, and at least one yellow building before the blue buildings are worth anything. So if we're to pause and consider this board state right now, assuming that I have access to everything, taking out the locked card for a moment, assuming I have access to everything, in this particular case, I have one yellow building and two blues. So these blues, because of this one yellow, are going to be worth $2. So the yellow building essentially, $2 total. The yellow building existing allows me to score or get money for the blue buildings. I take it back. My apologies. Again, this is why I'm glad I have the rule sheet in front of me. The yellow building will allow each blue building to be worth $2 a piece. There you go. Because it has a times 2 multiplier. This is a times 2 multiplier. If I had no yellow buildings, let's say that this is a blue instead, I had 3 blue buildings but no yellows across my entire board of cards I have available to me in this arbitrary example, this would mean that my blue buildings are worth 0, because they have to have at least one industry building before the commercial buildings actually give me any money. And when I do have one yellow building, the blue buildings give me $2 a piece. So that is how they work. Another thing to note is that if I have two, let's say I arbitrarily had 2 of these yellow buildings, like so. Shoot, I just had it on the right number. There we go. So I have 2 yellow buildings and 2 blue buildings. This will mean that my blue buildings are worth $3 a piece instead of $2 a piece, so that gives me $6 total. And I can use that to kind of build up my money. That'll allow me to do some other things, like, I guess, convert into victory points. I think money. Oh yeah, sorry. I need money to buy rerolls. Yeah, that's what it was. And that's how the yellow buildings work. So we talked about the green buildings, which give me victory points. We talked about the blue buildings, which give me money. We talked about the yellow buildings, which enable the blue buildings to give me money. And then next we'll talk about the mixed buildings. These ones are green or blue. They are green or blue. So let's set up our example here. Let's suppose that this is a situation that I have here, like this, and I have two mixed development locations. At the time of me going to phase 3 of my round and scoring, I get to decide what each individual one of these actually stands for. So I can say that this one's green and this one's blue, and that allows me to kind of have a little bit of flexibility in my decision-making process. So that's what that's all for. So that's the mixed developments. Next is going to be the purples. The purple building allows me to get a reroll and $1. So if I had a because I have a purple building, if I had a purple building and I scored that would give me $1 to my sheet down here, and it'll let me do a reroll for my next round. And I count that as for my next round. Actually, I forgot. Of course, I'm going to use an extra component that's not in the game. I was going to use this little meeple to show me that if I have it over here, it means I have a reroll for that round. If I do not have it over here, it means I do not have an extra reroll. So I'm just going to keep that to the side. This does not come with the game, of course, but it's just a little thing I'm using to remind myself that I have a reroll, because otherwise I am going to forget. And also the rerolls do not stack, as far as I understand. It says reroll not part of the $1 dice change or your next turn. Yeah, robot doesn't say anything about it carrying over, so I'm just gonna assume it doesn't carry over. It does not stack, as in I do not get multiple rerolls. Although it would be cool. Anyway. Moving on to the next building. The next building is the red buildings. The red buildings are these ones. These ones are virtually similar to the yellow buildings, except for they act as a multiplier for the victory points for the green buildings. The only difference is that I do not need a red building for the green buildings to actually give me any victory points. The green buildings will give me victory points by themselves without any red buildings involved. But if I do have a red building, the red building will act as a multiplier. And that multiplier goes up just essentially by 1 or by 2. So by virtue of having what I have on the board right now, let's suppose that I make this mixed development green, and this one is green. then these 2 greens plus this 1 red, is a ×2 multiplier. That means that this will be worth 4 points for me instead of just 2. So that's what that does. And then if I have 2 red buildings, that means it's ×3 multiplier. If I have 3 red buildings, it's ×4 multiplier, and so on and so forth. And then finally, the last building to talk about is going to be the parking lot. The parking lot's a black building. The parking lot will allow me to get, if I have 1 parking lot, it will allow me to get $2 for each building that I did not score. And the way I've interpreted that, and I can check to see if it's an FAQ, but honestly the game is not that complex, so I'm just going to go with what I've assumed here. But I've chosen, my understanding of that I'm following, that I've chosen to go with, is that I can choose to not score. I can choose to not score my greens or blues to trigger that if I want to. If I do, then of course I don't score or get the points for, or get the money for the respective buildings. So that's how parking lots work. The secondary way for parking, also there's a caveat with parking lots. They do not do anything at all for mixed developments. So mixed developments cannot be cannot give me $2 per for this one. So suppose I had this particular setup and I decided that I did not want to get any money for my blue buildings or get any victory points for my green buildings because I really wanted cash, and I have one parking lot. That means that in this particular case, this will be worth $2, this will be worth $2, this will be worth 0 because it's mixed development, and then this will give me $1. That's it for the parking lot. And then for everything else, these 2 buildings would do nothing for me in this case, and that building will give me a reroll. Also, another thing I should note is that my interpretation of the getting $2 for each other building you do not score, I've interpreted that to mean that it only can work for the scoring buildings. I don't know if that's a proper interpretation. Actually, might bother going through and checking the rule sheet for it, or checking for FAQ on it. But if you look in here on the rule sheet, this is what I'm pretty much following. This is this effect does not take the dice out of play. They still count to protect you against penalty. And the other part here, it says exception, unscored mixed developments are not worth anything. Shift the unscored dice is $2. Okay, yeah. So that's what it says. It says unscored. So like I said, my interpretation is that that's going to count for only green and blue. I don't know if it actually counts for the reds and the yellows, because if it does, then I can use that in conjunction with everything else, and it seems a little bit overpowered for this game that doesn't seem that complicated. So I'm just going to go with my original interpretation, make it a little bit harder for myself, and I'll check sometime in the future, I guess. Moving forward, if I have 2 parking lots, at least 2, so I can have 3 parking lots, and it'll be the same thing. But if I have more than 1, so if I have at least 2 parking lots, then the scoring condition changes. Instead, they act as an additional multiplier for green or blue. It's not an and, it's an or. So that means that I will be able to get an additional multiplier for my greens or my blues. And that is something I can take advantage of to get even more points. And that's kind of it. So that's the most part as far as what the buildings do. Now, I did mention before that there's a whole locking mechanic in this game. If you're playing a 2-player game, instead of locking, you're going to be giving your opponent one of these selections, and then you'll be able to do the rest of your stuff for your rounds. So in a 1-player game, I'm going to be locking or choosing one of these to be locked. What that means is that if I chose this one arbitrarily to be locked, or if I chose this one to be locked and I chose it arbitrarily, that means that I'm not able to touch it this round, and next round it will come back to me and I won't be able to manipulate it at all, and I'll have to lock something else the next round. So essentially it just means that I'm kind of giving my future self this yellow 3. So that's what that means. And finally, on my turn, before I actually fully commit to everything, and I think the phasing order is important here, let me double check. Yeah, first thing you do is you roll the dice, and then you're allowed to change dice values either up or down 1 number on each of 3 separate die during each turn, or 3 separate dice during each turn, moving the dice to the buildings that match a new value, and that costs me $1 to do. If I can't afford it, then I can't do it. It's important to know because I do that before I lock my secondary one. So what that means is that if this was the start of my round, let's say this is the starting setup, and I decided to do my dice, or I decided that I want to, do something fancy, I would have to first decide which dice am I manipulating. So at the first, plus or minus the dice with the dollar that I have. And then after I finish making the decision, I will choose to, or I'll have to unlock this and lock something else. And then this, what's left, what's unlocked, it will be my decision, or will be what I'm trying to, add up, or checking to add up for my score. So that's important to note because essentially I had to do my manipulations before I get the dice that was locked, and the die that was locked from the previous round, I'm not able to interact with at all for this round. So I'm kind of, perpetually kind of giving my future self something, and hoping my future self can work with it. So that's important to know because, like I said, it's integral. It's not integral. It's a bit of manipulation that I get to do, or that you will get to do while you're playing this game. So be mindful of that. And then finally, there's one last thing at the end of the round. After I've added all my points, after I've scored everything, I will check for a very specific condition. That very specific condition is, do I have at least 2 yellows or 2 reds, or one of each yellow and red? If the answer is yes, then nothing happens. If the answer is no, then I will lose $5. If I don't have enough money to lose, then I'll lose nothing. So like if I have $2 left and I don't meet the condition, let's say this is the final board state here for the round. I only have 1 yellow. I need at least 2 yellows, I only have 1 red. I need at least 2 reds, 2 yellows, or 1 of each yellow and red. I only have 1 red, so that means that I would lose $5. So I go all the way down to 0, and then nothing else would happen. Consequently, if I needed to lose money in the situation, same scenario, and I had $0, nothing would happen. So I would not be losing any victory points, is what I'm trying to point out. So that is kind of the gist of the game. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, and I'm just going to do that for 8 rounds and see how it goes. So let me go ahead and do our initializing. We got our stuff here, we got our money set, and I'm going to go ahead and roll all 8 of our dice. Sorry, 7 of our dice. And for the dice, I'm going to roll them just one at a time, kind of. So, I mean, it's all just kind of dice rolling here. So it's not like it's much to kind of get wrong. Oh no, lost my die. Final one. Okay, there we go. All right, now that I have my dice all set, let me put them on the right spots here. Alright, now on the initial setup, on the initial start, for a single player game, I have to choose one of these to send it to my future self. I don't know which one I will send to my future self yet, but I have to choose one of these to send to my future self, keeping in mind for myself, keeping in mind that I will not be able to manipulate the die that I send to my future self. So I got to be very, very, very careful about what I send if I want to try to continue to min-max my score and all that. So that is how all that goes. So let me go ahead and contemplate what I want to do. So I have 1 red already, and because my dice manipulations can only go up by 1 pip or down by 1 pip by spending $1, that means that I only have 1 red, I have a possible for a yellow, and I have another yellow. So I think in this one, I'm going to try to get the yellows to do something better for me, which means that I'm not too much of a fan of greens, because those are victory points, and those are needed for reds, and I'm not too much of, and I'm a huge fan of blues if I can get those. The problem is I have 2 greens that are pretty much stuck down there. There's no wrapping in numbers, so I cannot add 1 to this to make it wrap around to 1, and I cannot subsequently subtract 1 from 1 to make it a 6. I forgot to mention the rules, but just figure that that'll be kind of intuitive, but the rulebook does say that specifically. So knowing what I know, I think what I want to do is I want to go ahead and try to get I want to try to get money, but like the greens are not helping me at all, and I don't think I have an easy way to get reds. Alright, it's gonna be a mixed bag. So I'm gonna go ahead and spend $1 to move this down to 3. And then I'm gonna spend $1 to move this down, and I'm going to send this one to our next round. And then I'm going to spend my third dollar here to turn this down to 4, or turn this up to 4. I'm only allowed to spend $3 total every round for manipulations. So that's all my manipulations. And now I will choose one of these to send to the next round. I guess I'm sending that one. Okay. Oh, did I do that wrong? Sorry, I did that wrong. I was supposed to select one first and then start the game. Check. This is in a solo game. Instead of set this card aside for next turn, you must lock a different die. Okay. Huh. A little sad, didn't tell me. Alright, cool. Well, I'm just going to play it how I'm playing it. I get to just decide, and we'll move on forward from there. So I had one more die selection that I normally would have. But next round I'm going to have a green, so I'm going to try to make greens do something for me. And now we're going to go ahead and score. So scoring in this case is going to be... let's see, let's do greens first. So greens, I have one green. I do not have access to this one because it's locked. So I have one green, and I have a red building, so it's going to give me a ×2 multiplier. So I've scored myself 2 victory points there. Well done. And moving on to blues, which is what I'm most concerned about here, or hoping that does very well for me. I have 2 blues, and I have 2 yellows. So with those 2 blues and 2 yellows, I'll see 2 blues, that's going to give me money, and the 2 yellows is going to give me a ×3 multiplier, so I've earned myself $6. So I go from 2 to 8. And that's it. That's it for this round. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and roll everything and place it back, and then figure out our manipulations. Oh, sorry. We're going to decrease this by 1. Figure out our manipulations, and then do our locking. All right. Sorry. There we go. This is better. Okay. So we have ourselves some interesting decisions here. So we're going to get that green back. And that means that I want to get other greens and reds. So I can spend $1 to move this up to red. This is going to be a green for me. That's already at a red. This one's at a yellow. I can get this one to blue, but it's going to be on black for now. That's unfortunate. So I think what I'm going to do is that was the first manipulation. This is the second one. Do that. And then my last one is... I guess I'm just going to spend $1 just because I can to move this down to... Actually, I'm just going to leave this where it's at. I'm not going to spend that $1. Just some need for me to do that. Okay, and now that I've done that, we're going to choose which one to pass. I'm going to pass this one to my next turn. So I'm going to have a parking lot for my next round. And now I shall score. I shall score what I have. So I'm going to make this a green. And of course, I'm going to make me a bunch of points here. First things first, I get myself $1 and a reroll for next round. $1 and a reroll for next round. There we go. And next, I will get myself my victory points. So we have 1, 2, 3 greens, and we have 2 reds. So 2 reds and 3 greens. 2 reds is going to give me a ×3 multiplier, and 3 greens, so it's going to be 9 points. So I'm going to get 9 points. Alright. Yeah, that's good. So that's a pretty high scoring round for me. So that felt pretty good. Alright, we're going to decrease this. We're going to initialize our dice again. That's a 4. Okay. So here are all of our dice values. And let us see what we have. So we're going to get a parking lot. We got another parking lot, so it's a ×2 multiplier. That's pretty good. I want that. The question is, do I want points or do I want money? Oh, sorry. In those first 2 rounds, I checked it passively, but I need to have at least 1 red, 1 yellow, or at least 2 yellows, or at least 2 reds, or any combination of those. And I had those for the first 2 rounds, but I gotta remember to call that out so we all are following along. This is unfortunate because I want to have 2 parking lots, but I'm also seeing an opportunity for me to maybe get a lot of money. Oh no, did I move the wrong thing? I think I moved the wrong thing. I gave myself money instead of points last time. I was at 8, so it was at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did I score 8? No, I scored 9. Yeah, I was at. Okay, so I'm gonna subtract this by 9 and increase my points by 9 because I got 9 points last round. I think I got 9 points last round. I feel like that's what I did. I got 9 points last round. 3 times 3 for green. Yeah, okay. So I moved the wrong marker on that one, so I gotta be careful. I gotta remember to move the correct marker. Alright, back to the task at hand. So I can get 2 reds and a green. It's just my parking lot's going to be useless at that point, which is going to be unfortunate. I think I should do that. So I'm going to get 2 reds and 2 greens, so I'm going to spend $1 to change this to a 3. I'm going to spend $1 to change this to a 2. Then I'm going to spend my last $1 to change this to a 6. And that's going to be it. So the one I'm passing to the next round is going to be this one up here. And that means our parking lot is not completely useless, which is pretty good. So looking at our board here, we'll do greens first. We have 1, 2 greens. And that's going to be 2 times 3 because I have 2 red buildings. So it's going to give me 6 points. And for money, I don't have any yellow, so this scores me 0, which means that it's unscoring, which means that this parking lot by itself is going to make this worth $2. And that's good. All right, okay. That worked out. So now we're on to round 3. So we're gonna get ourselves a yellow, which means money. Seems like we're sending that. And just right off the back, it looks like we're sending that. So we want money. So I'm gonna spend my $3. So $1 to do this. Next dollar to do that. My last dollar to do this. And that's good. Now we're gonna send this card for our next round. I don't like this song. Okay, cool, thanks. Alright, next song. I'm sorry, now that we've just made our decisions, we're gonna go ahead and score points. So we're gonna get, oh man, I forgot about my reroll. See, again, I said I was gonna forget about it, I forgot about it. So I get $1 plus a reroll. And for these ones, for money, I get 1, 2, 3, 3 blues, and I have 1, 2 yellows. So it's gonna give me a ×3 multiplier, so $9. 9. And that's it. Okay, and I have a reroll for the next round. So round 4, I have a reroll. Alright. So these dice values are now there. Okay. So I got a parking lot. I can get a second parking lot to give myself another multiplier. And I can get some good greens, but it looks like I might be in trouble for the losing $5 condition, which I'm okay with because I have a lot of money. I'm not doing anything with it. So I think I was going to focus on trying to get as many victory points as possible here. So I'm going to spend $1 to drop this by 1. And then I'm going to spend $1 to drop this there. And I'm just gonna leave. Well, actually, I'm not gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna spend my last dollar, my third dollar, to drop this to here, and that's gonna be it. Okay. So the one that I'm sending to the next round is gonna be this guy, which means that I'm not gonna make the requirement for having at least 2 reds or 2 yellows or a combination of the 2. So that means I'm gonna lose $5 after I finish scoring and adding things up. But it's okay because I'm going to get 1, 2, 3 times 2. So I'm going to get 6 victory points. And for money, I have, 6 victory points. And this is another ×2 multiplier, so it's actually 12, which is nice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I can make this black one ×2 on green or blue, and I made it for green. So 1, 2, 3 times 2, which is 6, and then times 2 again, which is 12. Unfortunately, I only have 1 red, so I'm going to lose $5. And that's it. That's it for round 4. Going to round 5. I didn't even use my reroll. Forgot I had it. Again, it's so hard to remember that I have a reroll. Meatball and everything. I'm hopeless. I'm hopeless, y'all. Alright. So now that we have that, let's see what we get. Let's see what we can get into. So I'm gonna get a yellow, so I can go for money again. Can I get another yellow? I can. I'm gonna spend $1 to change this into a 3. And Spend $1, change this into a blue. I'll spend my last dollar to make this into a blue. Perfect. And the one I'm sending for this round is of course going to be that one over there. And oh no, oh whew, okay. As I say, I don't have two yellows. Not again. All right. So I'm running low on money, but it's okay. I'm about to get me a lot of money and no points. So as far as my scoring goes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 blues and 2 yellows. So 4 blues and 2 yellows is going to give me times 3 multiplier. So it's going to give me $12. So 10, 1, 2, 12. And yeah, that's it. I have my 2 things, so I'm good. I don't lose any money. Now we're going on to round 6. All right. So here we are, and we're gonna get a garage, or sorry, parking lot. We have another parking lot, so we have a times 2 multiplier. Oh, we have a third parking lot. That's not good. Okay, this is gonna be pretty straightforward. Maybe not. I kind of wish I had a reroll at this point. It would be nice to have a reroll. Tough decisions. I'm gonna spend $1 to change this to a 2. Spend $1 to change this to there. And spend my last dollar to change this to a parking lot. That seems like a good idea. And then we're sending this guy over to our next round. Feels good. So now that we have all that, we have we have 2 parking lots, so it's a times 2 multiplier, which is good. And then we have 1, 2 greens, and then 2 reds. So it's going to be times 3, and then times 2, so it's going to be 12 points again. So 6 times 2, 12, yep. So 10, 1, 2. I'm at 41 points. Looking okay so far. I got my requirement for at least 2 reds, so we're good on that one, and then that's going to be for next round. It's the last round. Oh no. Alright. Alright. Round last. I think this is the last round. So I'm gonna get $1 in a reroll. So I don't need another $1 in a reroll. I guess it wouldn't hurt, but I want as many points as possible here. So I'm gonna spend $1 to drop this, or increase that to 5. Spend $1 to jump this up to red. And this is where my problem is. I think I'm just gonna have to take the $5 hit. That's the only thing I can do, really. Yeah, I was gonna take a $5 hit. It's unfortunate. I'm gonna have 2 rerolls. Actually, no, it's not true because I have to send 1. Yeah, I'm gonna send this guy. Okay, easy. All right, and now we score our points. So we're gonna get 1, 2, 3, 4 points. A times 2 multiplier on that. This is gonna be 10, 1, 2. No, that's not how math works. 1, 2, 3, 4. Times 2 multiplier is 8, not 10. Math is hard. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, just bring your points. And then we are going to get $1 in a reroll. Ah, I did it again. I did it again, didn't I? Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's going to be 8 points, not $8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, if this was $, it would be a lot easier. Just saying. Just saying. And then we're going to give ourselves $1 in a reroll, of which we're going to not meet our requirements for having we're gonna not meet our requirements for having enough reds or yellows, so we're gonna lose $5, and that's it. So at the end of each round, yep, no, we got that. In game, the game ends after 8 rounds. Every $5 at the end of the game equals 1 victory point. If tied, the player with the most money wins. So this is going to be converted to a victory point. So my final score is 50. Okay, cool. So let's see, how did I do? According to the rule sheet, y'all, I am a senior architect. Look at me. Look at me, being a senior architect. Smack dab in the middle at 50 points. So that's how I did. Alright, and that's it for the entire game. That was it. I'm going to go ahead and end this video here and then do a review afterwards. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you all whenever.